Let's talk about behaviour that's associated with the sniper. So this is someone who essentially seems to always be chipping away at other people behind the back. That's sort of classic sniping behaviour. Now that can be extremely destructive for a climate in an office, for a team. So how do we deal with that behaviour? Well, I think that you need to challenge it quite firmly. And you start again in doing that by asking some questions. So if someone suggests something negative about an individual, first of all, it's worth, again, listen to what they've got to say first, but it's worth probing specifically what is it that's negative. Because sometimes you will see with snipers that they'll suggest things where they don't have a lot of evidence behind it. So they've heard something about an individual is a classic. What I would do with that was basically say, well, who did you hear it from? And what was the context in which you heard it? So was there something specific behind that or not really? And maybe you move gradually towards suggesting that actually, if there isn't anything specific, maybe it's not that fair to just be negative about that individual. Clearly, if you can counter it with your own views, which are much more positive about people, that is something that you really need to do. Snipers, people who do that, you've got to think about in the long term, where are they coming from? What are they trying to achieve when they do that? Well, it can be a little bit of a power kick for them in terms of they feel that their way of influencing and their way of trying to create a position for them which is beneficial is by undermining other people. To deal with that, you need to make it quite clear that in your view, that isn't a good way at all of trying to get on with others. And anything that you can say about it being important to work with colleagues, work well together as a team, that you get upset when you hear people being run down, if you like, or being negative about colleagues and others. And if you can express the fact that you find that personally upsetting, maybe you'll start to get the message across to someone who does lots of sniping that this isn't working, that it's destroying relationships and it's not helping them in the long term. Definitely it does need a fairly firm challenge because it's completely unfair and it can be completely unfair to other individuals. The last thing you can try, you might want to leave this until you've tried other things, is to more directly say, okay, well, if that's your view, why don't we go and talk to them about that? So really, you're putting the sniper on the spot. You're exposing them. You're bringing them out into the daylight, if you like. You're saying, oh, right, that doesn't sound good. Why don't we go and talk to this individual about that? See how they react to that. They may quite quickly back away from their comments. But again, what you're doing in that is you're saying, well, if we hear these sorts of things about individuals, the fair thing to do, the right thing to do, is go and have an honest and an open conversation with the person that's involved, rather than just keep talking about this behind the back, which isn't helping anyone.